to the deception as well, if we realize that we haven't done all the things that we should be doing in life, and then, oh, time is over?
No,
No?
that has nothing to do with deception. You might go in the emotion of sorrow, regret. That's not a nice emotion, neither, but it's not deception. Deception is an emotion, well, when you're lying, basically. You're lying. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to others, and it's normal for you. And a lot of people do that. So thank you for bringing that up. I really want to talk about that, because this is a breakthrough on your spiritual journey if you realize that. If you realize, we talked about how, you know, this time on earth is just a fraction of your experience, right? And we only want to work on that which lasts longer than just the fraction of time we have in our body. So we're working on our soul journey, yeah, to enhance the frequency of the soul. In the astral world, thoughts and emotions is you. There's nothing else. There is not the body. So you cannot hide any emotion or any thought. You cannot even say, because every thought is being heard, right? You are your thoughts. Just think about that. Whatever you think is who you are on this plane that you live much longer than you live on earth. So when you fully realize this fact, then you understand just the slightest lie to yourself or others are bringing you to the lowest planes of the astral world, where the liars are, right? If that's a habit that you think you go through life easier because you do this little lying everywhere, yeah, not a good idea. You practice while you're on earth that every thought you think can be written in the newspaper. Every thought you think. And that is your practice. Yeah? Don't hold any thought that you don't want to read in the newspaper about you.
Makes life a lot easier.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot more joyful. It's a lot more straightforward, and you will enjoy it after you get out of this shock and out of this habit, obviously. And you know, and it's a practice. It's a practice. So practice it as often as you can.
It's kind of really, like taking responsibility of your life and what you in.
Sorry, I didn't get it fully, Rosie.
Kind of like taking responsibility of your life. Yeah.
You have to take responsibility of your thoughts and your emotions.
Can I share something about that?
Yes, please. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, go.
In my marriage, I wanted to have no lies. So about, I don't know, a couple of years in, my husband asked me where I'd been, and I told him I went to the supermarket or he said, did you go to the supermarket? And I just said yes, because it was easier than explaining. And the next day I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I actually was lying, and I feel terrible because it's changed everything, you know, and I wasn't at the supermarket, but it just didn't seem important.
Yeah.
And I realized that we were married 14 years, but he lied to me. I knew he was lying to me. And I think it made it really hard for him because I wasn't lying. It made it really hard for him to hold that. Anyway, when we separated, I asked him, so how often were you lying to me? You know? And he said, every day, all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's because, the reason I bring it up is because I think you need to also have a way of clearing that, you know, which I guess is, you know, that's what confession was. And the idea behind that is good, to bring yourself back to a good starting point.
That's a wonderful example. Thank you for that, because it's a wonderful example. It doesn't matter what the others are doing. It never reflects back on you. If you will, your soul is clean of that. You know, they can cheat and lie and betray you as much as they want. if you don't take it to your heart, if you leave it with them and say, that's what they do, they use abusive words towards me, I never do that, and I don't even think them, then it is completely not in your energy field. It feels like you might be shocked because you are honest and you always say, and you are open to that, and it's quite a shock when somebody yells at you and it's really abusive, but it's not you, it's them, right? And they have to deal with it, and they will guarantee not meet you again in the astral world, because you're not sharing the same frequency, so you have to leave all this with them and work on yourself. And if you don't hold any thought that you don't want to be written in stone, then you have work to do. But if you can do that, it is such a relief. And as Kay just shared, you feel really awful if you just say out of laziness something that is not actually true. Look, I have another example. It's probably silly, but when I'm teaching yoga, the people are facing you, right? You are here, and then the people are facing you. And when you say bend to the right, some yoga teacher are bending to the left because they want to mirror, because then everybody is doing the same. I can't do that. I physically can't do that because I'm bending to the right. I cannot say I'm bending to the left. It's impossible. I'm so used to be aligned with my thoughts. I can't. But I'm practicing this since 10 years. And now, I can't reverse it anymore. Not even if it's practical, So just as an example.
That's beautiful, Kate. That kind of mirror me, because I like to say the truth as much as I can. And my mother said, a wise woman take the way around of things and this and that, with my ex. But he was always, we need to say the truth to each other. And but then to find out that he was the one lying to me was like, oh. And of course, once, like she said, like Maya says, once you let it go, forgive, and
not your thing. It's not your thing.
Yes.
Thank you, Virna, for sharing.
It comes to the point that when we lie, we feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. And you will not, because you are concerned about your soul. You're concerned about your vibrational frequency. Nam Shakti.
I wasn't here last Sunday, so my question would be, once we leave this 3D world and we leave our soul, correct, in the astral world, and do we return back to our higher self?
Yes. So you are 3 parts. Remember the little animation. You are body. That's great. Thank you for this, because we quickly repeat, which is probably better to learn, the most important parts of yesterday. So every being, it's simplified. It's much more complicated, but obviously I'm simplifying, and we don't need to go any deeper. So 3 parts, body, soul, which is the emotional body, the emotion you become, and spirit, which has no emotions and is pure creative. It's the creative part of you, right? And everybody has it. Nobody has it not. Nobody has it. So when you leave the body behind, the body goes back to earth, your soul goes to the astral plane in the emotion that was last dominant in the life. Yeah. So if you are working on your spiritual journey and you come to this acceptance in the state of where you accept everything as is, I think its frequency is 300 or 350 or something like that. Yeah. Then you go to that plane, and you may have come. What is below that? Was it courage? So you might had your lifetime. You came in with the soul on the state of courage, and you went on the spiritual journey, and you enhanced your frequency through digesting all these emotions that has to do with courage, and stepped out of it and became, what did I just say?
Spirit?
To acknowledge everything as is.
Acceptance, thank you. So you became acceptance, right? Then you are going back to the astral plane, but not to the same plane you came from, another dimension where the frequency is aligned with yours, which is higher, because now you are in the higher frequency. So that's then where you are, and that's where you meet new soul friends who have the same frequency, and that's where you learn about the next emotion, the next frequency you can go in. And then you start to design your life, your next earthly life, and you would start on the frequency of acceptance. And let's say everything goes fantastic, you are excelling, so to speak, your lifetime, you are going back after you shed your body, and you have the next step reached, which would be, was it already love over acceptance? Maybe unconditional, unconditional love. Maybe you learned after acceptance that you are one with everybody. I think peace is higher. Anyhow, so one of these, yeah? So, and then the whole time, your spirit, and okay, so that's something I probably haven't made clear. The spirit is still the word of light. Spirits have still an individual self, right? So the spirit, you have a spirit who is individual. It has no name, it has no emotion, but it's individual in its creativity. Yeah, spirit is creative. That's your part who is creative. It is always connected with your soul because it is her soul in the astral world. Always connected, always observing, always applauding when there is a progress, and always willing to come with if the soul wants a new lifetime, right? So the world of light is not where everything is one. That's above the world of light. You know, that's what we call the void. Or there are lots of spiritual names for that. Yeah. You are still an individual soul, entity, I would say, if you are in spirit world. So you are creative. Everybody has a capability of creation. Everybody, you know, just some can't access it. You have emotions and thoughts, and you have the physical expression. That's the three basically.
So would our goal be is to connect, to get to the point where we are connected to our highest self?
The goal is to shed the astral body.
And then once we do that, we don't have to go through the incarnation wheel
Exactly.
unless we decide to come back for the evolution of other consciousness of humans.
Exactly. So if you have if you reaches the highest vibration, 1000 of your soul, it doesn't come back, and there is no emotion left. It's like, but the difference is, and I just, because we are talking, it is in my slides, but I can say it now. The difference is, before the soul was innocent and ignorant. Yeah. So it's small, it's just innocent and ignorant. And after all these earthly experiences, where all these emotions, all these thoughts has to be digested, the soul becomes big and expansive, right? And rich. And then it expands and expands and expands, right? Until it kind of encompasses everything, which is kind of dissolving into the spirit, right? That's the whole goal of the soul journey. And once you are spirit and you have it, so you are still an individual, so you are in the world of teaching, you would help other souls, you normally, I've been told, of course I don't know that, but I've been taught that these beings, they are normally not coming to earth. There is no point. They rarely do that. But higher souls that are vibrating over 700, so between 700 and 1000, They are kind of going in and out with the world of light. And then they come back as master teachers.
These are the bodhisattvas, correct? The ones.
Yeah. But once you shed that and you have no astral body, there is nobody comes to earth. There is no point. Right? Good, awesome. So I think we go ahead, and I share. Oh, hang on, what is this? And I share now again the slides. And today, the fourth path of module 4, we are talking about regressions and past lives. So I just have you move you up on top here, and so I can see you all. Hang on. So right. That's well. Okay. So regression and past life, that's what we talk about today. First past lives. And what we talk about. We talk about death, the process of death. We talk about the concepts of past lives. We talk about reincarnation and family systems. We talk about reincarnation and karma. We talk about traditional belief systems. And then finally, we are spending a good chunk of today in talking and practicing regressions, because this is our bread and butter work in the spiritual healing. So death, the process. The simple truth is there is no such thing as death. Life lives always on as energy which is only changing the vibration but cannot go anywhere. There is only a change from physical to non-physical and back to physical, a never-ending cycle, which is also called the circle of life or the circle of karma. And if you read or you have other teachers, that is a measurement if this teachers or the book is talking the truth or is some side line of it. Because every truth teaching scriptures are saying nothing else than that. There is no such thing as death. As we've been taught, there would be. Nothing ends, just the body, the thoughts, and the emotions are living on. And if this truth would be taught in the religions, they would not have any followers anymore. So this is why we come to traditional belief systems later on, just to take that, off. So definition of death would be change from the physical reality to a non-physical reality. And remember, the definition of birth yesterday was change from the non-physical reality to a physical reality. That's all that happens here. Interestingly, it takes also normally 9 months to prepare a death, same as a birth, because everything I talked yesterday about is reversed and is also complex planning. We are talking about the normal process of death, which we don't see very much anymore because there is too many disease, illnesses, and especially fear of dying in the world. And this is why nobody is spiritually prepared for death. Of course, this is now changing because 9 more souls are now preparing properly for their transition, hopefully, after this module. And towards the end of the life, of course. Remember the electromagnetic field that's created by the heart, yeah? gets weaker and weaker as older the heart gets. It's just normal. And then that's a normal process of dying without any disease, any accident. The electromagnetic field finally is so small when the heart stops beating that the soul and the spirit are drawn back to their homes. That is the law of spiritual gravity, right? They have to go where they belong. That's the normal process. We are only talking about the normal process here at the moment, not the abnormalities. So when you read descriptions about people who had death experiences, they all say the same thing. They all say it feels like dizziness and disorientation, a little bit as being drunken or drugged when the soul is leaving, when they are leaving their body behind. They all have this impression to go through a corridor as the birth channel is. Pretty similar to that, just not so physical. They see the colors different, the perspective changes somehow, and everything seems to look more vibrant, clear, and sharper, as if you would have new glasses, new specs, that all of a sudden everything looks sharper and brighter. And also there seems to be a realization that everybody's on the same journey, but with different destinies, different astral levels, different dimensions. Only the ones that are sticking to their emotion, the addiction, they are dwelling in the in-between world and they cannot go through the corridor. The souls go back to the astral plane and to the color of the emotion that the soul has become on this earthly experience. The spirit leaves the soul behind and goes back to the light. So the concept of past lives is that on the soul journey, all emotions and all shades and facts have been experienced and owned. That's very important. You need to own the experience. That is different to just experiencing something. And I like the word digesting. One of my spiritual teachers has used it, and since then it has clicked. Because think of the digestion process in the body. If you eat a banana, you're not becoming a banana, right? Are you? No. No, you're not becoming a banana. You're transforming the banana into nutrients. And the nutrients are forming your individual body, right? And that's the same what the soul does with emotions in best case. Yeah. Instead of becoming the emotion wouldn't mean you become the banana. Yeah. They digest the emotions and making themselves bigger and nourished from it. That's a digestive or owned experience of emotions. And I give you an example. And you do this on Earth because you can't do that in the astral world. This is your chance. Nowhere else you can do that. So an example, when you get angry, just a little bit. Impatient is the same, just on a smaller scale. Get a little bit impatient about your neighbor, let's say, right? Because he's mowing the lawn on Sunday morning at 6. And you wake up. So this can be easily just, first of all, it's experience and you feel a bit, and then you think, God, it's the neighbor. I'm on a spiritual journey. Why should I be bothered? You know, just go away, this angriness, I don't want you, right? And it will work if you have a strong will, but you haven't digested yet. So it comes back and it comes back, and you always say, ah, that's beneath me. So, you know, and it will stick, and it will stick, and you take the emotion of anger with you. It's because you became the emotion of anger through all this rejection, you know. What is then the best thing to do is? The best thing to do is, first of all, to notice, yes, you are angry, and be honest with it. And the second thing is to go in this anger and experience it, and probably amplify it instead of pushing it away. Become really angry, you know, and then experience this really being angry. And then you really take this anger in, and you feel how it goes to your digestive system like a banana would, you know, and is transformed like a banana would into nutrition for the soul. That's a beautiful exercise. And please do it, because you need to exercise. It's not so easy as it sounds. This all needs practice, practice, practice. And you know you haven't digested it because it will come again. So the next time your neighbor puts on the lawnmower again, it will be back, right? But if you have truly digested it, you either sleep through, or you wake up and you do your meditation and you think, oh, thank you that I'm woken up, because now I have 2 more hours in the morning. Then you know you have digested it. And that's what you want to do. And then you have owned the experience for your soul. That's the important part. And then you have truly raised your vibrations. Is that clear? Yeah, 9, yeah, 9, yeah. We have to be really clear about that. Otherwise, I will repeat it if that's not quite clear what I mean. So we come back to that maybe later. So to finally entering the world of light, enrich with the experience, digested emotion. So every emotion that is digested makes the soul wider, wiser, more open, more expansive, right? Until the let it vibrate higher, until it vibrates so high that it's pretty much dissolving into the vibration itself. Okay. Past lives are not linear. Now that's probably surprised for you. Is it? Who's surprised? A little bit. Okay, I'm glad you said that. Because I was when I first noticed that. I noticed that when I did regressions with others, that it's not linear. So you are not reborn like into the time on earth, like let's say let's start somewhere. A soul was born into the First World War situation, and then the soul was reborn into the 1950s because he died in the war, and then into the Second World War, and then died through an accident, and then is reborn into the 1980s or something. That's not how life works on the spiritual level. You know, you can be born now and you leave your body, and then you can be reborn 1,000 years earlier or 1,000 years ahead, wherever you make the experience that you design for yourself. Nam Shakti.
What about lifetimes in other dimensions and other planets as well? Does that count?
I have no knowledge of it, and none of my teachers ever mentioned that, so I come to believe that there is no other such thing.
Because I've seen it a lot when I do past life regressions.
What do you see?
Other parallel lives. People live parallel lives to this one, so they're living this one and other lives at the same time.
At the same time?
Yeah, and I also see other planets, and I connect to another planet every time I meditate. Sometimes, and I have aliens or sort of aliens come in my meditation from higher vibrations, and I can talk to them and stuff like that.
I can say nothing about it. None of my teachers have ever mentioned anything.
Okay.
Nothing. Kate.
So just to be clear, I understand you. My next life could be in the past from now. It could be an older. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So wherever you can go, wherever you on this astral plane, map out the plan where you can make the next experience. The whole timeline of Earth is at your service, you know. Mm-hmm. Okay. Past lives, or the multiple lives, I have to say, are needed to work on karma. That's just another word for whatever I talked about, to work on your emotional and mental body, right? That's karma. Karma is action. Karma is not punishment. It's not what karma means. But we talk about karma later. So, as I said before, the unborn soul, which means the soul at the beginning of the journey, is innocent and ignorant by nature. That's important to understand, because that's the whole journey, is to become wise, right? Through digesting emotions. Every life experience is different for every person. So that's also, you know, it's important to know you cannot compare your life with anybody else. Not in this life, not in past lives, right? It's completely individual. Is as individual as perceptions are completely individual. And everything you hear and everything I talk about, everything I heard, is just a clumsy attempt to put into words something that cannot be actually put into words, right? So don't cling to the words too much. It's just for the sake of opening the perception to you know, to what else is possible. Malcolm Southwood teaches that 144 lifetimes is a minimum for every soul. And that has to do with the sun years and the astrology somehow. That is linked. But if you're interested in that, he has books where he is talking about that in depth, right? Which is not, it's not interesting for us to know exactly how many lifetimes there are. Not for our purpose. So we talk about reincarnation and family systems, which is particularly of interest because we are all interested in family systems and family constellation. So just for a basic understanding, yeah, the soul has a certain genetic imprint from the previous lifetime on Earth. So the soul is not washed away from everything that happened on Earth, takes one emotion and off she leaves. She has this imprint from her life experience. So she needs a familiar environment for a smooth transition into a new body with alike genetic material, right? Therefore, reincarnation into the same family system happens often. And that is an amazing finding that I wasn't taught that by none of my teachers, because Malcolm Southwood didn't like family constellation and Bert Hellinger didn't like anything else which wasn't family constellation, you know. So they all did their thing, and I just figured out that they are so similar in so many ways. Now here's another similarity. because when you go into past life, or you see a reincarnation, or when you see a family constellation, let's put it that way, I have seen over the last years sometimes past lives in a family constellation. And Bert Hellinger has not taught that. He didn't want to go there, I suppose. But then I have heard later, when he went, where the later years, when I wasn't there anymore, when he was barely teaching, he was more writing and reading, that he has discovered the cosmic dimensions of family constellations. It was very parallel with my experience of past lives in actual constellations. So that can happen, and it is good if you know that, because then when it comes up, you will actually be able to see it, past life experience. When you have a family constellation and you are reincarnating often into the same family, guess what? You are meeting yourself in the representatives, right? Isn't that amazing? I think that's absolutely fascinating, right?
I don't understand. What do you mean you're meeting yourself?
Now, if you were your grandfather, and now you're the grandson, the grandfather obviously has died, and you reincarnate as a son to this family, and then you have a family constellation with your grandfather, you're meeting yourself. And you will feel very comfortable with your grandfather, because we all like, ourselves, we want everybody to be like us normally. So, that's really fun. So be aware of that. That is all possible, and it does happen. Of course, you wouldn't probably not notice it. Sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't. It's not important for the family constellation, but it's nice to be aware that it can happen. Until the soul has been finished a certain stage and moves on to the new experience, to reincarnate into a new environment, it will reincarnate into the same family system. Now, what does that mean? That all has to do with digesting the emotions. So just because you have a lifetime granted and you have big plans made how to, evolve, it might not happen. Very often it doesn't happen. You stuck in, in the conscience of the family, and you don't get out. So you are reincarnating into the same family all over again, on and again and again and again and again and again. And then suddenly you probably read this one book, or you have this one teacher, and all of a sudden something clicks, and you'll be able to digest this emotional pattern that you are in and move on. And for the next life, that is when you probably not incarnate in the same family system anymore. That is when you're actually looking for a new life experience. And that is when you feel probably, I don't know how to say it. So let's make a little test. So who feels really close to their family? Hands up, like who loves the family, who likes to visit the family, who's very comfortable with the family? 1, 2, 3-ish. Okay. And who is quite 4-ish? Okay. And who feels quite distant from the family, is not so drawn to the family, likes to do its own thing? And Birna is both. Peter. Kate is also both. Okay. So when you feel nice and close to your family, and you might have most likely incarnated into this family more often already, and you're still at this stage not quite ready to move on, because you enjoy this closeness, and that's okay. You have several lifetimes. I mean, you have as many lifetimes as you want. There's no restrictions. You don't run out of lives. Hey, that's really good news. But if you feel distance, and maybe already as a child felt like you have nothing to do with this family, or as my mother once said to me, "You're not my daughter, you came from another star," or something, with disgust, then you know, you came to do another job this time. And you chose a different situation, different genetic pool, different life, which is more complicated to design as such, but you can. So you can choose that, and you will feel like a misfit. And you will move on quite early. You will leave home and you never look back, really. And there's nothing good or bad about the one or the other. It just shows you which stage you are on. That's all. Just an information. Mariela.
I don't know if I should share. It just came to my mind a few months ago. My mom told me in a phone call, kind of crying, that she had dreamt that I belonged to a different family now. And I kind of smiled inwardly and I thought, yes, I do. Kind of thing. In a beautiful way. I feel super close to them and I love them. And I used to be so like so close.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm here, I don't know, after so long, I just feel I have evolved in a different way. So I didn't want to reconfirm her dream, but it's, yeah, that makes sense.
Very good observation, Mariella, and that's actually how you know that you are spiritually evolving. Exactly like this. And you still love your parents. Of course, I love my parents. It's not the question. But you know you have nothing to do with them. You just know their life is their lives, and that's all good, but it's not yours. Definitely not yours. And all the values they have, they are fine, but not your value.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I've been in a battle, like, oh, I'm doing wrong. I'm doing something wrong because, I'm kind of leaving them behind. But how then I'm going to be a grown up and move on and have my own life, my own thing. Yeah. Yeah,
and you all know one who just became like one of the parents, right? We all know these. They start to do. They have the same little house or a big house or whatever the parents had somewhere else. They have the same routine, kind of. They have the same values of the parents, and you can clearly see that very often. That's all good. They just do what They just don't. They just stay in their energy field. They just stay there for a while. They will all move on. They will all move on. I have another beautiful picture from, I don't know where this is originating, the picture of a caravan. Is that the right word in English? Caravan? Where the camels move, through the desert. So if you are at one stage on your spiritual journey are frustrated because you think, well, I might move on, but I leave everybody behind and I'm kind of on my own, and that's so boring and sad, and that's not what I came for, right? And what about humanity? And they seem to be stuck in everything else. Just picture, because that's not true. Just picture the caravan in the desert, like with hundreds, thousands of camels and people walking and riding the camels and everything. And when you are in the middle of the caravan, you think you are not moving. You see always the same people around you, they do the same thing. You barely notice that. But if you zoom out and if you go on the hill and you look at the whole caravan in total, then you see they are all moving together, all in one direction, all towards the oasis, right? But very slow, so you can barely notice. And then you also see there are a few at the beginning of the caravan and a few at the end. And in between is a huge bulk of camels and people and everything with their belongings and everything, right? So you always have to, and that's how humanity evolves. There are a few leaders at the front, the spiritual teachers, then there are a few behind, they are always just following, right? And then there's the whole middle part who are moving, but they don't know it. They have no idea. And you want to get out of the middle part to the front, right? You want to secure your space more in the front of the caravan. That's what you want to do. Is that a good picture? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Good. So just in case you ever get frustrated, which you will on this journey, don't be assured there's nothing to be frustrated about. It's all good news. Okay. We talked about that lots, so I just repeated here, the next life is designed in astral, and that also means that when you have deja vus, like, oh, I know this person, but I'm sure I never met this person or never saw this person, then people love to think that they met in a past life. But fact is, it's very unlikely that you will remember that. But what you might remember is that you are soul mates from your astral plane, and you made plans together to meet and to go in what kind of relationship, can be a very loose or a very close relationship, to work on something that you both souls decided to do. And that's the deja vu you have in 99% of the cases. Because the things about lifetimes is you are ought to forget about them. And this is why we need to regress into them, because we can't remember any part. If we would be able to remember our past lives, that would be for the soul journey chaotic. Yeah? Far too many information, confusing. You need to focus on achieving what you wanted to achieve from the state from forgetting. You don't know what you have been before, who and where you have been, until you do a regression, but then you know only fractions of it, never the whole story. And we talk about that. Most of the regressions are actually thoughts and memories anyhow. But we talk about that. So the in-betweeners. Now, the in-betweeners who are stuck in this life because they are addicted to an emotion or to a life circumstances or to people or to places. Most of the addiction is revenge. They are victims. Remember the souls we have helped from the battlefields in this meditation? Why did they not move on? Why? Because some of them want revenge, for their sudden death. They're sticking to this place, waiting to get revenge for their death. It's a strong emotion with very low vibrating, and then they don't want to move on, right? So the in-betweeners, as you now know, they have to go back pretty much in the same life situation where they came from. So they definitely exceed 144 lifetimes because they haven't used this lifetime to learn. And so the 144 is a minimum, but when other spiritual teachers says you have thousands of lifetimes, then that's correct. That's more correct as if somebody would say you have 10 past lives or so. That's rubbish. You cannot evolve in 10 lifetimes. Hard enough to overcome one frequency in one lifetime and evolve, let alone do that in 5. So I wouldn't go with that. It has no reasoning to me. Reincarnation and karma. First of all, what is karma? It's a Sanskrit word. It's translated as action. So we talk about that, what karma is not. So there is also in the Hindu tradition. Hindu is a religion, it's not yoga, it's a religion. They adopted yoga, so to speak. It's actually one of the earliest religions compared to the others. But there's a lot of now twisted and turned and blah, and everything is mixed up, and it's really hard to see what is actually the original teaching of ancient wisdom schools as opposed to new religion. So karma has become what it never was a synonym for punishment. So the word karma has been used now frequently in a way of a bad and a good karma. There is no such thing. But it has been, and it still is used often as that. Bad and a good karma doesn't exist. Because let's say you would slaughter, in some religions, you know, you are not slaughtering a pig, I think. I just make an example. And you have done that, then due to this religion, you have a bad karma, meaning you are punished when you die. So you have to fear death, first of all, and then you go somewhere where the pigs will all be all over you or whatnot to eat you or something. I don't know. I'm just making it up, right? Just for the sake of this. But or you gave all your fortune away to a beggar on the street, all your fortune, and maybe it was millions, and you gave it all away to the beggar on the street, and then people say, now you have a good karma, and you go some blissful area. None of this is the case, because both things were selfish, had a certain emotion, which were, you know, vibration low, and that's where they go in Australia. They go to this low vibration. That's all that happens, right? To work on the next lifetime and maybe make another decision. So this bad or good karma doesn't exist. There's only cause and effect. When you cause to become a certain kind of emotion, then the effect is that you live in this world, your soul. That's all. And there is no such thing as hell. It's just you are always happy in the astral world because you always meet alike. And you are not punished. Nobody is there and gets a whip onto the soul with a non-existing body and whips the soul. No, that doesn't exist. You're just together with other people, souls, who had the same, you know, selfish emotions. That's all. Because if you give your fortune away to have good karma, that's selfish. You know? And what do your children's children think about it? They don't get a penny. Is that's, you know, that's not compassionate. Compassion is to all beings, right? Including yourself. So karma is just another word for the soul journey, for reincarnation. What you do on earth, yes, has an effect on your soul. That's true. Because it defines the vibration your soul is living in when it leaves the body. That's all. And it's very simple, and this is why it's not more complicated than that. So now we talk about soulmates, and I'm sure you all have your unique own idea what a soulmate is, and I would like you to share that today. So just unmute yourself and tell me what you think is a soulmate. Kate.
So I've been told that a soulmate is not the person that you are, that would make you most happy. It's the one that challenges you the most, but basically that it's a love partner and they are challenging you.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Do you know where you have it from?
Sort of cumulatively, like, you know how sometimes information just comes to you from several sources? Yeah, and that's recent too.
Okay, interesting.
Hearsay.
So anybody else?
Hearsay.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Virna, you have another definition?
I heard that it's not necessarily someone that you love.
Someone that you love.
Yeah, it's not someone that you love. It's nothing to do with the partner. Apparently, it's to do with could be anyone. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Just let us know what that's all. It's all interesting.
So, it can be any age. The soul can have any age, and yeah.
Okay. Mariela.
that is kind of a friend contract, like a friendship, and yeah, that there are challenges. There is love as well. I wouldn't rule that out. But the challenges that they are in the relationship is like with a mutual contract to work certain things out on Earth on this internet.
Mhm.
That's my understanding.
Okay, very good.
That's
the
like
rest-
me, to challenge you to grow, right? To cause you to grow more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So the rest of you have no concept of soulmates. Is that correct?
I agree with what they've been saying, but I think that it's a soul that comes to actually help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
as you said before, it's like that you have something in common, like maybe like an emotion to digest, and you help each other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely it's not like a romantic type of thing. Usually it can be, but it usually doesn't end up well, as far as I know. But
Very good. Where's your source originated, Rocio?
I'm the same as Kate. I read about soulmates. So there is the other ones that it's the soul that it's divided into two, like the twin flames or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's so many things that you don't know which one is the right one, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. We don't know. Of course.
Yeah.
It's all concepts. Obviously, we don't know that. So I share with you the concept I've been taught. And I have a direct experience with it, and I can, for me, say that that is truth. That doesn't mean that's for you truth, but I have experienced it. So otherwise, I wouldn't talk about it in this way. So when you think about the state of oneness, are you familiar with oneness, Advaita, non-dualism? No, not at all. A little bit. Okay. So I just quickly explain Advaita and oneness. So the concept of oneness is that we are all one entity. Actually, we are not actually millions of entities. We are one, and we are just having different experiences. So we are individualizing, so to speak. If you would think of this oneness having not one pair of eyes, but millions of eyes, and millions of arms, and millions of tongues to taste, or something like that, you know, I don't know, it looks horrible thinking of it like a monster, but it's just as far as I can think at the moment to describe it, right? So that is the concept of oneness or Advaita.
I think of it like cells in a body, you know, lots of making up one big, huge.
For me,
Something
the
like
metaphor is the ocean. Like we can all be different waves of the ocean. We can have a life, we can die. We're still one.
That's
all of
lovely
us,
too.
one.
Yeah, it's not so drastic. Okay, let's take the ocean. The ocean and the waves. So at one stage, this experience wants to be more precise, and this is how all the dimensions came into existence, because this one being didn't want to, needed something to look at, needed something to taste, you know, not just, you know, fantasizing about it. And this is how all this dimension with different frequencies come into pass, where Earth is the lowest, or one of the lowest, and densest vibrating realm, where actually physical or so-called physical experiences can be made. And on this journey from this oneness all through all the dimensions to Earth, or the astral, or even the world of light, is just a tiny bit of the whole, you know, coming through from oneness. This particle or this wave that is kind of singular now comes as neutral, and then it goes through the dimensions, and at one stage it wants to even divert further into different types, to have different perspectives, and continues not as one but as two. And that is, in this dimension, it's called the fifth dimension in Gnostic. So I'll just let you know if you read about it. The individual becomes a female and a male. And then it continues through the other dimensions until it arrives at astral and then arrives on earth, right? So the souls who once were one, divided into two, a male and a female one, that's due to Gnosis, is the soulmate, right? Now these souls go on about their 144 lifetimes, at least, or thousands, on their own. Because that's the purpose of being a split soul, to make this experience. And the other one, the male one, goes on as well. And they sometimes meet. If everything, you know, is not often, I don't think so, but it can happen, either by design or however, they would meet and they would feel a strong reaction to each other, but not romantic normally. So that would be the exemption. It could be anything. It could be it would be a teacher-student relationship, or it could be family members, brother, sister, or it could be anything. The age difference could be huge. It could be a baby and an old guy, you know. Could be, yeah. Because it has no meaning at this stage. Because they are not meant to meet for a specific reason at this stage. They are meant to meet when they have gone through all emotions, when they have finished their soul journey, and when they have finished even their creative times in the world of life. And when they are ready, which we call ascension, to go back to oneness, right? So then is when they meet and go back to one. So that's due to Gnostic teaching, the true meaning of a soulmate. Now, if you meet your soulmate and you know it, because you're somehow guided and you really know it, that's your soulmate, that is a sign that you have met at the same vibration, that you matched the same vibration. Because otherwise you couldn't meet. And it is close to ascension. It doesn't need to be ascension, but it's you're close. So that means also that you are on the ladder, if you will, or on the way towards higher vibration, quite up there. Right. Yes, Kate.
So that would mean that it's a rare thing anyway, that most people don't have a soulmate. It's only
they all have one, but they don't meet them.
Oh, so everybody has a split?
Everybody has a soulmate.
Oh, okay.
It wouldn't exist. Yeah. So
Okay.
all of you ladies have a male soulmate, and all of the men have a female soulmate. But they're probably not even in this lifetime. They're on their own journey. They have their individual journey. Yes.
Don't the souls also go? Don't reincarnations also go male, female, or across? Not necessarily the same sex all the time.
Yeah, can. Yeah, that's an experience for a soul. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Although you like to stick to one. You like to stick to one normally. But yeah, you can go another body. Then you feel probably not quite right, but yeah. So there's the female soul and the male soul at the division, at the fifth dimension. And then you go on with your life journey, with your soul journey. It's really fascinating. It's a bit off topic what we do here. So, but if you're interested, go and find some books about Gnostics and look there. There are also hermaphrodites dimensions where you are kind of neither nor. It's very fascinating. But we are not going there today. It was just to touch on it because people are using this word soulmate so often, and because we're talking about the soul and the soul family later, I just wanted to touch it. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, what's then the soulmate and the twin soul?
I think that's the same. I mean,
Okay.
how do you define the twin soul? The
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Huh?
I was gonna.
I
Yeah, for
never
me,
thought about that. I met a twin mate or soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean? I've never
Yep.
thought about that.
No, not correctly, because it's not very likely. Anyhow, Rocio, yes.
yeah, I was gonna say that what you just explained, for me, it's what a twin flame is
Ah, yeah, okay.
instead of soul. So that's kind of the difference, that the soulmate is someone that comes to actually make you grow, but the twin flame is actually you divided by two. And yeah.
Ah, okay, I didn't know this term before.
Yeah, it's called twin flame. That's it. That's the difference. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah? Okay, so twin flame then. So then soulmates have no specific meaning then, I suppose. Just somebody you feel close to. Remember, when you are an astral, as a soul, you make friends, and that's what we call the soul family, right?
Yes, for
So
me, that's what a soulmate will be. Yeah.
more the soul family. So
Yeah.
that's where, when you're an astral, the soul family is, you are an astral, you're on your, frequency level, and you have the other souls in the same frequency, and you make plans together. You want to suss out, and this is why everything is very complicated, because every soul needs to find parents that match, just think about it, how much this involves. But and then you try to be close, you make plans, you're going to meet us in the kindergarten, you're going to meet, what not, you be sisters and brothers or whatever, so make all these plans, and that's your soul family. So the soul family is either on astral waiting till you are back, or comes as well, finds a suitable environment to come, and then you meet. That's the soul family. And the home is the astral world. This is why people say they want to go home. Yes, Samshakti.
I know this is out of what you're speaking, but what about demonic energy and satanic energy? Is that on the very lowest? Obviously, the very lowest on the chart, but are those entities actually spirits, like souls, or they're?
Can I postpone that, because we are talking about possessive and attached spirits in a minute after the break? Yeah, can we talk then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, coming up. Just checking the time. We go through that before we have a break. So that was the soul family from the astral plane, and then we have the spiritual family, which is, as the name mentioned, is your true home, is your creative spirit, who has also family in the world of light. Right. And when we say that's my spiritual family, if they take the term truly, then that's the spirits that hang out together in the world of light. The family of 17 is a funny term. There are, if you think about closely, you meet the same people all over again, and there will be in total 17 that you always meet again. You kind of never leave this. These are your family of sin. That's your true home. That's kind of the combination of your soul and your spiritual family. And that is where you really, so when you leave your physical family behind, because you made a quantum leap and you incarnated into a other family system where you are not so close to, you have sometimes this yearning or this yearning, this knowing that you have another family, right? But that doesn't mean you are adopted. That is the yearning or yearning towards your spiritual family, or the family of 17. And that's good to know, because you got to see them all when you shed the body behind. And sometimes, or most often, you meet them also in your lifetime. people you always meet, always close, that never really disappoints you, so to speak. No. So if you are spiritually informed and gain knowledge, then you know depression have no room anymore, not even sadness about anything. You know, that happens. This is why you come into higher vibrations, because you understand there's no point, you know. If my physical family does something that I don't like, who cares? I have another family somewhere, you know, which I'm much closer to. So yes, now Shakti, go ahead.
Sorry. What about when a soul is obsessed with someone else? Like, let's say in this 3D world, there's someone that's obsessed with someone to the point that they're always physically, not physically, but astrally sending them like through dreams and
Yeah,
almost like an obsession.
this sounds to me like an entanglement. Yeah, that would be interesting to look at in a family constellation. Yeah, would be interesting. So, familiar faces you meet on Earth. We talked about that. So that's your the soul family normally that you have sussed out. You want to meet, and there is a remembering, but you can't really figure out because you forget everything you discussed in soul world. But there is a remembrance which in your soul imprint which you came with, and this is why they seem to be familiar. Although you have never met them before and you never met with them in a past life. Not that you know of, but that's very unlikely. And then the misfit, I talked about that before, so we don't want to repeat too much, but that is somebody who is just in a new cycle of incarnation after a quantum leap in expanding the soul frequency into higher frequency. And he will feel just in this family not suitable anymore. So let's go, before we do the break, into traditional belief systems. So there are so many belief systems about past lives as people thinking and talking about it, obviously. So obviously I'm not going into that. I teach you the method that I know of, which stands on very solid grounds. I can assure you that. All these belief systems are coming from different transmitted scriptures, and religions are the word master in belief systems, and they all because they are that by definition, because you have to believe in God. That's the point. You are not God. You cannot experience God. You have to believe in it, because there's always a middleman in between who can. It's the only one who has contact to God. Which is the religious leader, obviously. Otherwise, they would be obsolete. But one fact is, that's a fact by definition. Truth is only what can be directly experienced by everyone. You don't need to be special. You don't need to have a special invitation from God itself. You don't need to be educated. You don't need to be, whatever. Nothing. Everyone can experience truth directly. That is truth. That's all. So that's always a measure. If you hear about something and you think, oh my gosh, is that now a belief system or is that actually truth? Just think about, can everybody, due to what has been said, can everybody experience that directly? That's your measure. That's everything needs to be measured by that. And I assure you, if you have a desire to walk the path of truth and the path of truth only, and that is your only mantra, you will be led. You won't go astray. There's no doubt about it, because your higher self, your spirit, is very happy about this intention and will lead you all the way through all the jungles of belief systems. So you don't need to be worried about that. It's all about your intention. Okay, let's have a short break. It is 17 here on my clock. So 10 minutes would be, let's do 8 minutes, let's say 25, wherever you are. Just add the other figures. See ya. Okay, everybody back? I see a few empty chairs there. No, here's Peter. Okay, Alexandra, your video is not on, and Kate, your video is not on. Just that you know. Okay. Right. So now we finally talk about regression. As I said, regressions is your bread and butter when you do spiritual and emotional healing, besides family constellation. So we hopefully have time, and I will make sure we have time to do at least one regression. So first of all, we talk about what regression is. Then we talk about why does a client need a regression, or yourself, or you want to do it for a friend or a family member. So the way I use regressions is, of course, it's not limited to that, but that's how I use it and how I teach it to you. I use it for releasing of memories, either from this or a past life, to get rid of possessive energies or attached spirits, and to find the sole cause of a specific disease. That's nailing it down. And when, when would it be needed is basically when there was a trauma in childhood. That's when you want to access the trauma and clear it there, which is also the base of many disease. When there was a trauma in a past life, and when you're under the influence of foreign energies. Not you. If you get a regression, you might be, or somebody else you can help with. So now we talk about the 9 steps of how to perform a regression. So the first step is to come into the alpha state. The second is to guide back to the source of the problem. The third step is an affirmation, because what you need is you need to reveal a subconscious memory. And the subconscious is by definition not giving out information, because then it would be conscious. So we need to trick the subconscious mind to give out an information. And these steps are, so to speak, tricking the subconscious mind. We repeat the whole procedure in case of false memories, which we will talk about in depth. We finally find the situation by asking concrete questions, which we will train, and who is with the child. That's what we need to know. We need to know who's there, who's with the child, to be able to access this information in the subconscious that led to a trauma. So there is lots of traps to fall into when you stop too soon, right? So the 7th step is to allow the child to express itself, because the trauma was in a situation where the child had no means, no power. It was powerless. That's traumatic. So now in the regression, you want to reprogram the subconscious mind with a new information, which is taking the helplessness and eventual guilt or shame out of the situation and replaces it with how can I say, responsibility and the power to act. Yeah. And that is normally in the case of a child, I have nothing to do with this, I leave it with you. That's the same as in family constellation. I am free to walk away. I am innocent. So you leave it with the perpetrator, whatever he has or she has done. That's the new information for the subconscious. Because if the child would have been able to do that, and no child can do that, there wouldn't be a trauma in this that is embedded in the subconscious. So that is what we are, the new information we are transforming the subconscious memory into. Then there is a case of abuse or horror in this situation that is a little bit more complicated. Then we have to perform a spiritual healing, which is in the next slide. So you need to be aware that the subconscious mind doesn't want to reveal the situations very lightly. So again, you have to be very specific there and careful and be free of assumptions, right? So when you come to a state where there was horror or abuse for the child, then you take the child out of the situation and you are imagine, still in the alpha state, that your client or with whom you are doing this, is floating with the child above the situation. And there's no emotion because the emotional body of the child is still down there. So you are accessing the spirit of the child and bring this information into the conscience, into the conscious mind, I want to say. Yeah. And then the situation can be reversed. So then the emotional child can express itself there. Or in this case of abuse, as an adult, you go in and you push the perpetrator away from the child and take the child, which is the emotional body, out of the situation. So you are, as the adult, same soul, taking over the lead. Because if the child would have been adult, whatever has been happened, it wouldn't become a trauma. Right? It only can happen if you are a child, an innocent child who is helplessness. So then you perform spiritual healing, and then you are practically closing the session. Okay, so we will go through this now step by step. The alpha state, first of all. The client, I name it the client, could be a friend, could be yourself. You can do all with yourself, and that's the beauty about all these methods. You can all apply them to yourself and work with yourself first before you work with anybody else, right? So the alpha state is a state where the frequency is between 20 and 34 hertz of your brain. 20 to 34 hertz. That is above sleep, so you are not falling asleep or your client, and it's below hypnosis. Nobody is hypnosed. So what is the difference to hypnosis? Hypnosis is you are losing your consciousness and you're losing your ability to act and to remember and to be aware. So the alpha state is you are fully aware. You still know you're sitting on a chair. You still know you're in this room. You know all of that. That's not away. You're not zoomed out. But your brain waves have reached the state where the subconscious mind lives. That's all that happens. And it's a very relaxed state. So this is when I say you need to practice to relax yourself before you can relax others. And it needs to be your voice. It needs to be your intention, your breath, everything, your heartbeat, everything needs to be relaxed so you can invite whoever you work with into this relaxed state. So you cannot be hyperactive and say, and now you are in the alpha state. You have to be there first. And then you can invite whoever you work with to follow you. We have also the method that where we use our hands, magnetic and electric energies, when we are physically working with somebody, which brings the subconscious into memory. So induces the alpha state onto the body, which comes in the next slide, I think. When you are in alpha state, when you talk to the person you're working with or with yourself, you always stay in the present tense. This is very important that you take the time out and you are not asking where were you then or how old have you been. If the question is where are you, how old are you? Otherwise, it doesn't work. Time needs to be taken out of the equation completely, because where you're working is in the timeless zone, you know, because otherwise you cannot regress. Obviously, you stay always where you are, right? So you need to be in the timeless zone, where it's always in the now. It's always now. Whatever is now. There's no past, no future. It's now. You always have to stay positive. You always have to find the positive expression of a word. Now, I spent so many years now to find a positive word for no fear, and I couldn't find any. So if you come up with one, that's would be very much appreciated. You can use the word no fear. You don't have to have fear, or you have no fear and you feel safe and relaxed, you know. That's the words you need. Also, when you are working with guilt and shame, you obviously have to use the words. So you can say you are innocent. Obviously, that's the positive term. You're innocent. But if it doesn't kind of ring a bell, then you say you are innocent. You're an innocent child of the universe. You have no you have no guilt. You know, there is no shame for you. You have nothing to do with this, right? So you can use the words, but I'm always very like, oh, if I have to use a no word, it's a little bit on the negative side, so I'm very conscious with it, but sometimes you can avoid it, but use a lot of positive words with it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the alpha state. The spiritual healing in a regression has also steps. And so these 8 steps are incorporated into the regression when it's necessary. It's not always necessary. So when you are facing in a regression an abusive situation, or there was some horrible, which the client, the person you work with, or yourself cannot look at, then in this situation you ask the child to come out of the situation, wherever the room this was, and float under the ceiling, and you as the adult are with them, so they are not alone. So you're holding hands, and you look down and you tell them what I said before, the same thing. They have no emotions. You look down at the scene, and without emotions, the subconscious will give it away, you know, because it's clinged to the emotion of horror or abuse or whatnot. And then you can clear it with, you know, pushing the perpetrator away and saying, I have nothing to do with it. I leave it with you. I leave it here. And then you take the child that is with you under an imaginary shower of light, because the child needs to be washed clean from this dirt that has been shoveled on it, in this case of abuse or horror, right? So this light shower washes this all away. And you know, you go with your client in alpha state, you imagine how this is all washing away from the child. And it's also important to let the child see how it washes in a stream away into the ocean and gets clean and clean and clean, and until it's completely dissolved. So it's really gone. And that's all the emotions that come from the perpetrator that is going into the light shower away. And then you let all gaps filled in the body of this child with light. That is all. It's not a light that comes from outside. It's the own light of the spirit. So this light always has to originate in yourself, right? Because otherwise you are opening up to foreign energies if you imagine another light. It's your light that is healing. So you imagine always the light from the heart expanding, going outwards into every body cell and beyond, in all the subtle bodies and beyond and beyond and beyond, always expanding. Then you dress the child in your clothes, because otherwise it would be naked or with old clothes, most likely white, most likely the color of innocence, because it's a child. And sometimes it's really helpful to ask the child for a gift, like someone wants something, and then also you can tell your client, go and buy that, if it's a teddy bear or whatever, And go and buy that now and hold it close, you know, keep it with you. It's very healing. And then you let the client take the child into your heart and affirm, from now on, nothing can harm you. I will protect you at all times. Right? Which is true, because the child is adult now. And childhood traumas cannot happen again. Right? And then you can close this spiritual healing in itself, or you take the client out of the regression and close it there. So I repeat, a regression has 9 steps, and the spiritual healing has 7 steps, and then the closing, and the spiritual healing is an add-on to the regression. Yeah? Ale.
I think you are not recording.
Oh my gosh. Again.
It is recording. It is recording.
No, it is recording. Thank you. I didn't stop it. That was the thing. I didn't stop it in the break, so I have to edit it out. 10 minutes of nothing. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you for thinking of.
I have a question, Maya. When you say when it says that you take the child to heaven, is that you as the healer, or is you as the person, the client?
All the client. You're guiding only the client. You do nothing, but you guide the client. So it's always the client. You are not doing anything. You're just guiding the client. Has to do the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not doing anything.
Confused when you were like you. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And it's also not correct to say the client. It might be by yourself who's doing the regression for yourself. So you know you can do that for yourself or for a friend. Virna.
So when it comes to a child, you said you bath the child and so you just take the child to a river, imagine a river, imagine which one you like, and allow the child to pick and, you know, kind of direct that into kind of a story.
We will do it. Don't worry about it. We will do it in a shortly. I just want to finish my slides and then we do a regression. Yeah? Okay. So the physical regression you can do with, now that you know about the power of the magnetic and the electric hand, so you have actually somebody to work with physically with you. We call it the client. And now you remember that energies always flow down from head to toes. And in order to access subconscious memories, you have to bring the energy to flow from toe back up into the head. And how you do it is you hold the left hand on top of the hand of the client, about, you know, the distance where you feel the strongest power. Because this is magnetic, what it means is it sucks the energy back up. Yeah. And with the right hand, who is electric, you are going to the back of the spine and start at the base of the spine and then lift. So try to bring the energy, put your own energy in and try to force the energy to push up as well. You know, and you do the affirmation sentences, and you do that, and you do that, and you do that. And that will help the client to come into the alpha state. And don't let the client lie down, and don't let the client sit on a firm chair. It's the best they stand. Now in my clinic, I have a specific setup for these sessions, because I'm not small, but I'm also not very tall, and people maybe are taller than I. For me, it's difficult then to hold the hand up there. So I let them sit, but they are on a wobble chair. You know, a chair that has no legs, wobbling like a ball, like one of these gym balls, these huge ones. So they always are in motion. They have to move. The subconscious cannot be reversed and accessed if they are, you know, too, how can I say, too solid, right? Not with this method. They need to be always in motion. Yeah. It's a bit different remotely, but not when you use your hands. So what do you affirm? Just hold your thought, Werner. What do you affirm is 3 things that the client needs to hear, the subconscious mind, otherwise it won't reveal the information. They have no fear, They have no guilt and no shame. I know that's all no words. I don't like it, but I have not the positive. I never found a strong expression in positive for that, but it works in this way. It does work. So you can affirm that you don't need to be afraid. There is no fear. You have no guilt. You have nothing done wrong. You know, you don't need to be ashamed of anything you have done. That's what you say. 3 times, 3 times, always good to repeat it. Then you perform the 9 steps of the regression and maybe the spiritual healing if indicated. And then you take the client out of the regression by releasing your hands and guiding him back into the room. And then there's a little twist. You can ask the client, you can say, you can only open your eyes if the problem has been solved. Because I had that clients cannot open their eyes, they physically cannot. This is how the subconscious works. So then you know you have to go back, and you might have just touched a false memory, and you have to go back and do it again. Yeah. So that's a very good, how can I say, measurement for if the subconscious has actually released the information that was leading to the traumatic experience or not. Okay. A remote regression is what I will do with you now, because obviously you are not in front of me. I mean, not physically, just in spirit. You go into the alpha state with this in this relaxation, and you let the client sit at the edge of the chair. I always say unsupported spine. Yeah. So you're not too floppy. So they are not there. Need to be alert and a little bit uncomfortable. Then you do the guided meditation to the safe space that I do with you all the time. And then you ask the client, you know, you're sitting in your safe space, in your happy space, wherever that is, a meadow, the seaside, a hill, a room, whatever. And then you ask them, how old are you? And that's a very direct question that you can only, when you experience, ask. Otherwise you say, look at your feet. What do you wear? And then they say probably jandals. And then you say, are your feet small or large? And most likely they would say they are small. And then you would ask, how old are you when you look at your feet? And then they probably say 4 years. And then you are in there where you want to be, right? Remember, you want to access a childhood memory. Everything else is a false memory, right? Only the childhood traumas are in the subconscious embedded. The other traumas, when you are like more than 7 years old, they are not subconsciously, they are pretty conscious. No. So you perform the regressions exactly as before, maybe the spiritual healing, same thing. And then you guide the person you work with out of the meditation back into the present room, right? So past life regressions work exactly the same with one very important difference. First of all, you do regressions only with adults. You don't make a regression with a child. And I would also say not with a teenager. I have not good experience with the hormones are just too crazy. And I never really had how can I say, coherent results when I worked with not adults. So I only teach adult, you know, client, how can I say, relationship. I did start to work with animals, and I'm just I don't include that in this course because I'm just starting to make some experiences with it. It's not ready to be anything that I would like to teach. So past life regressions are only for adults. Intention is to access a past life that is causing the problem. And the information then, when you ask, you know, when you ask, you see, you say so how old is the child? Where's the child sitting? You need to be very precise when you ask, you know, who's around you. And then they say, oh, I'm in a you know, a space, and then you know that's not likely in the last 50 years. It must be earlier, right? Depends how old the client is you work with. And then you kind of start to understand that that could be a past life. And whatever questions there is, you ask them very precise and in slow pace, right? Don't rush. Never rush to conclusions. Go one step at a time and never ask for the face. There are lots of traps. The people are asked as a child to look in the face, they always see the father or the mother. Because these are the people they would want to be there to help them, not the perpetrator, right? So that's it's a tricky thing. So don't ask them if you know if they see a face, if they know who that is. That comes later, but not at the beginning when you start with the regression. So now we have to talk about false memories. More than 80% of perceived past life experiences are actually false memories. The subconscious doesn't want to reveal this information, whatever was traumatic, you know, because it hurt so much. And remember, the job of the subconscious is to prevent from pain, emotional and physical pain. That's why the subconscious brings the body into spasm to, you know, to lock things up, to not get hurt anymore when you overstretch a tendon or whatever in a spasm. The same as emotion. The subconscious just freezes and lets you astray. It doesn't want to go there. And the best technique the subconscious has, especially for people who know or believe in past lives, is to just, you know, divert them astray there and not going to the real childhood trauma. So, but the good news is the false memory is very easily to find. It's very easy to find out what actually a false memory is, because it's all very similar, very similar. So the subconscious is not very clever in this regard. It's all very similar. So when this child, let's say you work with a female, sees a poor little girl in just in cloth, in rags on this dirty street, and it's so poor and it's like horrible, that's 99.9% of false memory. That's what the subconscious comes up with. A dark room, a dungeon, even something medieval is guaranteed a false memory. Or the opposite, something like, oh, I'm a princess, I'm riding on a horse, you know, I have everybody's bowing to me, something like false memory. Because you like these stories and the subconscious is presenting you with these stories. You wanted to be a princess in your past life, you know, or you wanted to be a really poor, pity girl. Everybody has pity for. So that's what it presents. The reality is a reality like you would have a childhood trauma now, just 500 years earlier. A normal family, you know, a normal situation, but there is something going on which is absolutely not normal. And that is the past life you want to access. So what are you doing if you think, oops, I think we are in a false memory trap here? You say to the client, when I count to 3, your subconscious goes straight to the problem where the trauma is originated, right? In exactly that place. And then you count to 3. And then you ask again, whom do you see? Like not whom, so where's the child? So which child do you see? And then in most cases, you repeat that once or twice and the subconscious gives it away. And all of a sudden you are in a current life and it is a childhood trauma when you were a baby, you know? or something horrific happened to you when you were a baby. Unfortunately, it happens so much undescribable things to babies and children, you wouldn't believe it. You know, in families often, or just outside of the family. It's really tragic. And these are the memories the adults are suffering under, this not released memories. This, you know, and they need to be, if you want to heal, that's what you do. It's a humble work. It's also very fancy, just to say. No. Okay. So, but when you have access to past life, then you just do exactly the regression that we talked before. So maybe I can share that before we go through that slide. I had a lot of regressions when I was trained with Malcolm Southwood, and as to be expected, the first regressions are always this. I mean, you're not accessing past life regressions when you start. It's just not happening. It's all false memories. All. So you have a lot of stuff to work through in your own lifetime before you actually have cleared all of that, and then you access past lives. So I had a lot of that cleared, and then access finally past lives. And one of the trauma was that I was a stampede under horses when I was a girl. That was a few hundred years ago. And it was not like the first memory was not a dungeon or a poor little girl or a horse. I was just a child of farmers, just a happy child of farmers, and I was running around and ended on a stampede of horses, and that was a trauma, you know, the sudden death. It's horrible, horrible death. Okay, so just to give you an example, how an actual trauma in an actual past life looks like. Okay, so now, are we short on time? No, we are not. What's the time now? It's 8. Oh, no, we have over half an hour. Somehow my mic hasn't charged, so this might gives up, and I hope then, you know, you have the background noise. I try to do the computer mic, yeah? I don't know how long it is. Okay, so now we're talking about releasing attached spirits. It follows the same method. And when we talked about Nam Shakti, when we talked about, what was it again? Your question about the dark,
The demonic, satanic energies.
Satanic energies. Okay. So demonic and satanic energies in this context is nothing else than low vibrating energies. It's not higher beings that have an evil intent. That's not what I'm talking about. It's when we are thinking about these dark energies, it's just the low black stuff, you know, the low black stuff.
That's how I see them as well.
Yes, it's black stuff, and they have no power other than you give them. So this is why if you give them names like demonic or satanic, you already raise their potency. If you only say black stuff, you know, that makes them immediately easier to access. Yeah, just a little tip. So black stuff, that's all you need to know. This is also either an attached spirit, more often it's energies, yeah, that somebody has caught. So how do we, and we talked about that, so now we only talk about how do we actually release them. So again, alpha state, ask the client to go to the current problem, because they don't come to you because they have noticed an attached spirit. They come to you because they have a problem. They might limp, and one leg is stiff, or an organ is not functioning well, or something, you know, and you don't know that it's an attached spirit until you start the process, right? So it's really, don't expect somebody to come to you and ask you to release an attached spirit. That would be really odd. You know, I never had that happen, but maybe it happens, but that's not the rule. So First of all, you go to the problem, and then you all of a sudden see this black stuff that we were just talking about. You know, well, not you, the client more often sees it. Says you ask for a color, and then say, oh, it's black stuff, and it's yuck, and it's, you know, and it starts to describe it, and you know, oh, we have an attached spirit or a foreign energies here. So then, or they see a person that's an attached spirit that they actually know of, or that is they were close to somehow, family member or neighbor or something like that. So then they see this person. And it will come to mind because it's revealing itself. Normally attached spirits and foreign energies don't want to stick there. They actually do want to go. You'll see. They just don't know it yet. So what you actually do, the process is you ask, what color do they see? So if they see this black stuff, then you have a very low vibrating energy. But they can also see gray, the color of fear. They can see brown, the color of control, orange, the color of deception. It's definitely a low vibrating energy. If a higher vibrating energy is never touching, right? So it has to be a low, under 200. Fear, maybe. Or so this murky yellow, which is the fear of the known. So once you see the color, yeah, Peter, hold the thought, write it down, and then talk. Once you see a color, you know A, because you have learned it. When you learn the charts, you know which emotion is it. And then you can send these energies or this attached spirit into this color. And you are actually communicating. Now, you're not asking your client to do that. That's the difference to the other regressions. You do the communication. So you ask, if your client can do it, fine, but often they can't. So you take it over. And then you say to the spirit, you can't stay here. And remember, you can only work from the state of unconditional love, which is compassion to all beings. So your compassion is not one-sided to the client, it is also to the entity. It's the same love. It's the same love. So you are not, you are not angry. You have no emotions. You're not angry with this person or you disgusted. Nothing. You have the same love. It's just confused in the wrong setup. And you can help this entity to go home in the astral plane. That's where it wants to go. It doesn't know it. That's the whole confusion here, right? So you see the color, or your client sees the color, you know where this go, and then you let your client see. So you talk to your spirit, say, you can't stay here. There is a place, there is your home waiting for you. Your people are waiting for you, right? To prepare the spirit so it dawns in the spirit's thought construct that, I can't stay here. I actually can't. Okay, I can't. And then you can also, if it's really nasty and doesn't want to understand, you can say, that is against the spiritual law. That is normally the point where they all understand that. It's against spiritual law to stay attached to a person once the person doesn't want it anymore. Because everybody is born free with a free will. And nobody can invade that. Right? And then you ask the client, now the client comes back into play. You might not need to talk to the spirit. If it's just an attached energy, you don't need to. But if this is a spirit who is very clingy, you might have to. But then you ask the client to picture this color as a huge cloud or hole or something, an entrance, something. And then you let the client send this entity or this attached energies into the color. You let them go into the color. And they may go slow, but they will go. It's their color and they feel the drawn. You remember the universal, the gravity, the spiritual gravity, they are drawn to it. Once they let go of whoever they attach to, they are automatically drawn into it. So you ask your client to see this attached spirit or attached energies to move into this color. And then you ask your client to look closely and see how this actually is completely dissolved in the colors. Nothing is back. Everything stays back, completely dissolved. And then you're finished. And remember, the soul child of the client always needs to stay with the client. So you have sometimes specifically tell to the client, keep your child with you, so it doesn't go with the energy, right? To make sure that the client stays always intact with their soul child. That's just a little focus point you are having, so not to complicate things. And make sure it's all clear. Now there is one trap and one trap only to fall into. And that's good news. You just need to remember that one trap. The one trap is when the client says there is the color white. Now remember in the chart, and you have to learn the colors if you work in this way, because you can't read while you are working. You can't say, hold on, I have to look at my chart. So that's just not going to work. So you have to know it. White is either the white light of the world of light, and obviously a spirit cannot go there because they would never touch. They have a color, right? So what they see is not the white light. What they see is a murky white, cloudish light, or not light, a cloud. And that is, look at the chart, it's the color of hiding. So instead of going in their color, they hide. They don't go anywhere. And that also means they don't go away. So your client walks out and has the same problem, comes back. So when the client says, yes, I can see a color, you ask them for a color and says, yes, I see a color, I see it's white. Then you ask specific, so okay, what white is it? And they say, oh, it's a murky white, it's a bit cloudy, it looks like a cloud or like milk or something. Then you say, that's not a color. And then you repeat the procedure. Maybe by now you have already spotted the emotion of the attached spirit, and then you suggest the color that actually this emotion is. Like you suggest a red, for example, right? And then you said, can you see a red light? Can you see a red color? Can you see red? And then say, yes, I actually do see the red because it's behind this white-ish is actually the actual color. You know, and then when the client can see the color, then you can send the spirit in there, right? So red was power and desire, and that's very common for a spirit to have this emotion of power and desire, obviously, because if it wouldn't be for the power and desire, they would never attach to a person. So it's always a good guess to say either brown, the color of control, because the spirit wants to control the life of the one they are attached to, or red, which is the color of desire. Yes, now Pete, it's your turn. Go ahead.
I just want to ask, because you speak about the colors, and when you said before, the colors, that's always that side. It's always the negative part of the color, not the positive part.
Yes, no, it can, not quite. Hang on, it's a low vibration.
Yes.
Yeah. So the orange is deception. Also, bright orange is deception, right?
And purple.
Hmm?
And
purple is up there, right? Yeah. So purple is not an attached spirit, but
that was the question.
Yeah, but think, Peter, be precise. If you think about the colors, every color that is on a low vibration, yeah,
on that one,
can be an attached spirit, right?
Okay.
It can be also, somebody can be happy, like yellow. It can be this child happiness can attach.
In his world. His world.
Yeah. So then you send the child, then you send the attached spirit into yellow, right? Yeah. So first of all, you try to find the color. If the color is hidden behind white, you suggest the color, because somebody who's hiding is definitely somebody who is controlling or powerful or has a great desire, you know.
Okay.
So that's kind of spiritual psychology. Is that a good word?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
use psychology when you work with
Yeah.
spiritual healing, you know. This
Okay.
specific. Okay, good. Right. Okay, releasing possessive energies. I have just put this two together because it's so similar and it doesn't make really a difference, just that possessive energies are normally perceived as shapes, textures, consistencies, while attached spirits are often a person, like they actually see somebody. They don't know them maybe, but they see somebody. So that's but it's not a huge difference. And if you don't know if it's a spirit or energy, it doesn't matter. You just follow the same procedure. You send the object into the color, same procedure. You make sure the soul child is with the client at all times. And you take them out of there into today, and the child into your heart, not in your heart, but in the heart of the client, and let them, be united when you close a session. So always make sure the soul child and the client is united when you close a session, so they are not separated. So that's that. And then we go quickly through the soul cause of disease. We are not discussing it, and you're probably never going to work with it. I just want to mention it to just round it up, this this training module. But if you are really interested in this side of it, then please read Malcolm Southwood books, the two latest ones, which are both available on Kindle edition. Can download it instantaneously. He has all about these diseases. He worked a lot with physicians and in his practice with clients who had diseases, and illnesses. So severe illness in children is most likely caused in family systems and in past lives, right? That's what happened, but you don't do a regression with the children. With the child, you do a family constellation for the parents of the child. Yeah, because remember, the parents can do a family constellation for the child in this case. Kidney problems is the emotion is feeling of being trapped. The bladder in women is mainly loss of control in their life circumstances. The breast is a mother issue. Lungs are unshed tears, not lived grief. Digestive tract are problems in relationships. Leukemia is an overwhelmed with a feeling of being overwhelmed with responsibilities. Pancreas are problems to make decisions. So this is why the energy from thoughts and actions are merging in the pancreas. And when they are not aligned, then this is creating an imbalance. So it's big decisions like, shall I leave my wife for my girlfriend? Things like that. Feeling responsible to both, like these impossible decisions to be made, these kind of decisions. Brain is a spiritual conflict. So brain issues, brain tumors, or something like that. There is a spiritual conflict. So an example is a war situation. You want to be peaceful. You don't want to harm any being, but you're in a war situation and you've been told to kill people, right? This can lead to brain tumor or other brain damages. When you can do a regression and heal it where this originated. And throat would be incapability to answer or to set the foot down, to feel powerless, throat problems. Prostate in men means man loses his power. This is why often men who retire become prostate problems, or even cancer. They have not prepared themselves to to be in this state where they perceivingly have no power anymore. Liver and bile is unreleased anger, liver and bile problems. And bone and skin, self-destruction and low self-esteem. So I think we are through. Yes, we are. So this is then module 5. So I can stop the sharing. And we will do a regression. So here we go. Okay, any questions before we do a regression to what I've been said? Yes, no, Shakti.
Will you be sending us the color chart?
That's all in the recording, so you can make a screenshot when you get the recording.
Who did you say you got the color chart from?
Malcolm Southwood.
Okay, thank you.
Birna.
I didn't have a question. I had just a sharing with what you just said.
Yeah.
Very true in regards to the prostate man loses his power.
Yeah.
My father stopped working. My mother took the power in the house, and he was really slowing down and had problems with the prostate.
Thank you for sharing.
God.
Yeah.
A man needs to be in his power.
True. Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. A regression. So who wants to do a regression? Rocio. Okay. You have the hand up. First one. So we take you. So please unmute yourself, and everybody else, please keep muted. So we have less background noise, and let's start, Rocio. Okay, so I would like to start with you and ask you a question or multiple questions. Is there any particular discomfort that you have experienced lately?
Yes, period pain, like really bad cramps in my period.
And that's not typical.
Well, it's been typical in the last year or two, but it wasn't before.
Ah, yeah. Okay, good. All right. So we take that and we see where it leads us. Yeah.
We can't hear you, Maya. Nope.
Maybe disconnect the hearing. Is it Bluetooth?
It seemed to happen last time when you shut the slides off. So I'm wondering if there's a connection. Maybe you're.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. But I can't hear you. Hang on. How do I do that?
Can you hear me?
You have to put the speakers on.
Select microphone, select
speakers.
Speaker. Say something.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. So, all right, I come closer. Okay. So, okay. So, Rocio. Nice. You're prepared already? Okay. Sit upright with unsupported spine. Relax your hands in the lap. And start your deep belly breath. Breathe in into your belly. And exhale long and slow. Bringing the belly in. And then inhale. And then exhale. And with every breath, you become more relaxed and sink deeper into your inner space of peace, tranquility, where everything is in the now, every information are present.
Nice. And you sink deeper and deeper into a happy space where there is no fear, where you are an innocent child of the universe, where you have done nothing wrong, where you could not have done anything wrong, because that would be against the spiritual law. And from this space, you allow your subconscious to take you through the situation that is the sole cause of your period pain. What do you see?
I can see a picture of myself being a baby.
Okay, very good. Stay with this baby. And remember, you have done nothing wrong. Whatever has happened, you don't take any guilt. And you are in a space where there is no fear. And you are able to watch everything by floating out of the body of the baby, floating up to the ceiling, and then you see the whole room. In which room is the baby?
It's kind of a nursery.
And who is with the baby?
I don't know who the person is, but it feels like it's a male.
Okay. Now you as the adult Rocio go next to your child who is floating on top of the ceiling. You take it by the hand and you assure it that everything is okay, that nothing and no one can hurt it because you are there to protect it, and that she can feel nothing. All the emotions are left behind with the baby in the nursery room. And together you look down and observe what happens next. And you can see it clearly without any emotions. What do you see?
I don't want to say it.
Have no emotions. Everything is equal. There's nothing good and nothing bad. It's just happening. Open your eyes. Hold the hand of your adult self. You feel completely safe. And watch with the interest of somebody watching through a microscope, some cells dividing with the same scientific interest. You watch what's happening next.
He's kind of changing my clothes, or yeah, he's taking me out of the crib. Is that the word?
And then, what kind of clothes are you wearing?
like a white knitted, you know, like I don't know how it's called in English, but it's like yeah.
As long as you see it, it's good.
Yeah.
And then see. So his hands are coming closer.
Yes. And yeah.
And opening your clothes. And what does the baby feel? Not you. What does the body of the baby feel? Can you see it?
She's kind of like she knows there is something wrong, but it's she doesn't like it, but it's she can't imagine anything bad happening. It's kind of like
okay, so she doesn't like it, but she has no means to express this.
It starts crying, but
and what's happening now?
Yes, he's touching it, yeah.
Okay. Now you go in there as the adult Rocio and take the baby out of the crib and put the clothes around the baby and push the man away. Can you do that?
Oh, yes.
And you hold the baby close, push the man away and say, stay away.
Stay away.
Yes. It is not right what you want to do.
It's not right. What do you want to do?
And you can't do it because I'm here now.
Yes, you can do it because I am here now.
And I am protecting this baby.
And I am protecting this baby.
Nice, very good. And then you take the baby with you, floating under the ceiling, merging with the other body there, the spiritual body, and take it out of the situation higher and higher through the sky. And until you rest on a cloud. And there you let your light expand from your heart over the baby and washes everything away. Every piece of dirt that is on the baby, on the clothes, everything is washing away. And you watch how it washes away. You and the baby, you follow with your eyes the stream of dirt and grease, all the dirty stuff that washes away into the ocean of infinite love, where it's diluted and becomes clear. And the light, bright, white, radiant light from your heart is filling every single cell of the baby and the subtle bodies and beyond. It's radiating out and out and outwards until the whole sky is full of the white light. And then you take some new white cloth. They are beautiful, natural cotton, clean, smelling like lavender. And wrap it around the naked baby. So it looks beautiful, innocent, clean. And then you take it close to your heart and say, from now on, I am always with you and protect you.
Okay, from now on, I'm always with you and I will always protect you.
And nothing can harm you.
Nothing can harm you.
Nobody can harm you.
Nobody can harm you anymore.
And then with the next deep breath, you take the baby into your heart where it reunites with your soul. That's it. Take another couple of deep breaths. Nice, well done. Very good. And when you're ready and in your own time, you come out of your happy space and back into your room and take all with you, all the memories of what you have experienced, and you feel relaxed, happy, and free. When your problem has been solved, you will be able to open your eyes. Bravo. Very good. Very good.
It's very hard. I couldn't see what was going on. It's you actually have to be, yeah.
That is exactly, and thank you very much for volunteering, Rocio. But that is exactly what you're going to face, because the subconscious is not willing to go there again, because it is programmed to not allow any pain to arise, right? So you have to convince the subconscious that it is actually not painful.
Okay.
This is why you have to be careful to express that you do not feel anything. And in order to make that clear, I made this how do you say aphorism? This example with the aphorism with the microscope and the scientist, to make absolutely sure your subconscious is convinced it cannot, you won't feel anything. And that was when you could actually see the action.
Yeah. Yes, I could see it, but I couldn't feel it. That's true. Yeah.
And that is, so when you are in this alpha state, you are everything you as the guide, the facilitator, what you say is very suggestive. It's talking to the subconscious in this state. So you need to be very careful with your words. They need to be very, very careful, right? Because everything that you suggest will be taken 100% by the client, right? So you're never creating stories when you're with a client. When they're in an alpha state, you never assuming anything. You never ever do anything. You only help the client to remember. That's all you do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much again, Rocio. And let us know how your period pain is after this.
Feel yourself as a baby as well. When I was holding the baby, it was like, oh, it was so cute.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Wonderful. Maybe you're pregnant and you don't know it.
No, I am not.
Maybe in the near future. Who knows?
No, yeah.
Who knows? Anyhow, so I hope that was good for you to see, and you had a practical example how this works. This is always the same. This is how it works. You just need to practice, practice, practice. Nothing comes out of nothing. You have to do that 100 times before, you know. And the best practice is with yourself. So go in meditation, go in alpha state, and go in all the corners of your own subconscious first. Yeah, before you work with anybody. Just be very careful with that. That's not a game. Yeah? Okay? All right, questions. We are a little bit over, and obviously I don't have my noise reduction here, so you hear all the craziness that's normally going on. Is there a question? Is there anything? Peter raised his hand. Is there anything? Just let us spend 10 more minutes before we round up to make sure everybody's happy. So Peter, can you unmute?
I was just before about when you said you should do it by yourself before you start with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do the same also with the hand. You can do
on
the
yourself.
same, the energy on myself.
Why not? I have never tried it, but why not? I cannot see why not. It's difficult to reach it back, but you know, you can try.
Yeah, but I mean, then you can do it in the front. I don't know.
Try it. Try it and tell us how it goes. I love self-experiments. Yeah. They're great. Awesome. Anybody else?
I just want to thank you, Maya. It's always amazing to hear you.
Thank you, Rocio. I'm so glad that you get so much out of it. That's my only goal and desire. Okay, so Kate?
Do you know, so when problems arise, like this is not something she's had all her life, it's something coming, is that because as we move through life, things reveal, or do you have any ideas?
No, that's
about
a trigger.
A trigger, okay.
So look, I didn't know that we are going back to her as a baby, obviously, before we actually did it. But thinking about it in retrospective, it makes sense because the bleeding of a woman has to do with getting babies, right? That's the prerequisite to get a baby. This period is triggering or camouflaging this event as a baby. Now, it hasn't happened before because it wasn't triggered. Maybe Rocio was thinking about babies, or somebody had a baby in her, I don't know, in her close, nobody. Right. Something has triggered it that the pain came up, you know?
Right. And then the body does it in a way that...
So you don't know it. Something has triggered it. There was a trigger, just Rocio didn't notice it.
Right.
And then the pain came up because the subconscious is all of a sudden, oh my gosh, there was this event, and it's kind of going in a spasm, so to speak, and can't go there. So something else is kind of pointing at it. So it becomes a problem in an area which is eventually actually somehow connected weirdly.
So like a distraction, but a Freudian distraction.
Yeah, something like that. Like a diversion of energies. So instead of letting the real pain come through, another pain is created.
Right.
If you will. Yeah.
Thank you. Makes sense.